This is Subject to Approval, where we dive into the chaos, challenges and curveballs of today's business and agency world. No jargon, no waffle, just fast, fearless conversations about what's breaking and what's working in your business today.
Hi, and welcome back to Subject to Approval. It's another solo episode. This time you have me, Becca Maxwell, from Artemis APAC, where we work with agency leaders and their teams to unlock their potential even during the most challenging times. And so today, this is what my episode is about specifically. I'm talking about one of the most powerful tools that I use, both personally and professionally. I've shared this framework at every level in agencies, and I'm often reminded of how effective it is. I presented it at a regional leadership conference in Bali earlier this year, and one of the CEOs there asked me to follow up and share it with his local leadership team. The week before last, I presented it to a group of account leaders at an independent agency in China, and I'll be sharing it next week with an account team who I'm running a deep dive relationship reset with. So it is one I use really frequently. If you've ever felt distracted and overwhelmed in your role, concerned about industry uncertainty, the impacts of a slowing economy, potential budget cuts, stakeholder changes, the impact of AI, all of that, this episode is for you. So I want you to imagine it's Monday morning and you've just learned that your biggest client is cutting their budget by 30%. Your team is already stretched thin, there's rumors of redundancies, and the new client stakeholder seems impossible to please. This could lead anyone to spiral, right? We can become entirely unproductive while we worry about anything and everything that could happen now because of this. Some people will freeze, waiting for the ball to drop, waiting for someone else to let us know how to move forward, shuffling in emails or our inconsequential to-dos on the to-do list. Others might want to predict and plan for every possibility, already dealing with the what-ifs so that they can feel kind of some semblance of control in an uncontrollable situation, wasting precious time and energy on scenario planning for scenarios that may or may not happen. Instead of either of those, I'd like to teach you how to deal with these uncertainties without spiraling, to be able to stay calm and productive and positively impact people around you. The framework is called the Circle of Control and Circle of Concern. It was developed by Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So I'm going to explain the framework and apply it to agency life. So I want you to start by imagining a really big circle. This is your circle of concern. Everything you worry about, but you can't directly influence or control. For example, the broader economy, the environment, mortgage rates, the impact of US tariffs, global tensions and conflict, whether there's fluoride in the water, the affordability of housing for younger generations, or even other people's opinions. All of this can sit in a circle of concern. If we look at our industry, concerns might be, network consolidation and mergers, both real and potential or rumored. It might be your best talent leaving for client-side roles, or worse, leaving the industry altogether. It might be concerns about clients bringing work in-house, AI disrupting traditional agency models, client budget cuts, a new client CMO who has a relationship with your competitor coming in, industry-wide pitch processes becoming more competitive, economic uncertainty affecting client confidence. All of these things can sit in our circle of concern. They are legitimate concerns, but there's very little that you can practically do alone to change any of these concerns, any of these realities, right? So spending time thinking of these issues can make us feel powerless. It can make us feel overwhelmed, and we can become quite reactive. So let me introduce you to a smaller circle within this, which is your circle of control, what you can actually impact through your actions and decisions. So inside your circle of control will be your behaviors, your thoughts, your words, your actions. For example, you can control how you communicate budget constraints to your team. You can control proactively building relationships with new stakeholders. You can control strengthening your strategic thinking and presentation skills, or creating a culture that embraces change and retains top talent. You can control investing in team development and new capabilities, and building systems that improve efficiency and client satisfaction. all of that. You're concerned about so much, but if we focus then on what you can control, it's much more interesting. So here's what I've observed working with high-performing agencies around the world. The teams that thrive during transformation are those that master this distinction. They don't waste energy on things they can't control. Instead, they channel that energy into areas where they can make a real difference. The secret is that they understand the circle where we spend the most time grows. I'll talk more about that in a minute. So we at Artemis, we've been supporting agency teams going through a merger process, and we've been using this framework to help teams remain focused on what they can control, including maintaining high standards of delivery. Executional excellence is a given. Nurturing their key client relationships, ensuring that all opportunities for growth are pursued, documenting their processes, and championing each other to celebrate small wins. So the result is that they're creating a motivating, positive culture even during this period of uncertainty. So the teams are not worried about what might happen. They're actually enjoying what is happening. This energy is really infectious. My clients feel it. They want to continue working with these teams. Partners feel it. It's almost creating this narrative that the merger was the best thing that could possibly happen because everybody is, resilient and enjoying themselves and actually focused on what matters and what they can control. So what's happening here is when that energy is infectious is that our circle of control creates a third circle, which is our circle of influence. So I want you to consider Greta Thunberg. She's a divisive character. I'm not asking you to like her or agree with her methods or anything like that. She is a divisive character, but she's a great example of this model. Greta was passionate about the environment. Right? She focused on what she could control. She made choices that would impact her home and her classroom, which then inspired more students within the school to affect positive change, which then inspired the community, which then inspired the country and beyond. So instead of becoming so overwhelmed by the scale of the problem, which I believe she was for the first few years when she was really young, but instead of allowing that to be her truth, where I'm just overwhelmed by the concern of it all, she actually focused on what she could control, and she grew her influence over time. She didn't simply go from being a teen who cared about the environment to someone who was speaking at the UN Climate Action Summit. Right? She created huge influence. So how do you apply this model to stay calm instead of overwhelmed and have a positive influence on those around you? Here are my suggestions. 1, when you find yourself spiraling or unsure where to focus, I want you to ask yourself, does this sit in my circle of concern or my circle of control? Is there something I can do to have influence here? If not, then I want you to proactively choose to shift your focus. I can't control what is going to happen here, but I can make myself indispensable or make myself helpful, make myself supportive or easy to be around. And I can impact my thoughts, my behaviors, my feelings, my words, my actions. So for account directors, this might mean focusing on client communication quality rather than worrying about budget decisions already made. For leaders, it could mean investing in team development rather than obsessing over competitor moves. This framework, focusing your energy where you can create real change, is actually foundational to everything we do at Artemis. So when we work with agency teams, we consistently see that the most successful ones aren't just applying this mindset individually. They've built it into their systems, their culture, their approach to growth. And that's exactly what our program is designed to help you achieve. Right? I'm just going to spend a minute talking about our 4 most popular programs right now. One is the growth program. This helps teams identify and act on growth opportunities that are absolutely within their control. Right? The organic growth potential that exists in every agency, but often goes untapped. So instead of worrying about market conditions, teams learn to focus on the client relationships, the internal processes, the strategic opportunities that they can directly influence. Our second program is the Reignite. It's an intensive 1-day program designed specifically for agencies going through transformation. Right? So whether you're facing budget pressures, team changes, market uncertainty, the Reignite Day helps your team refocus on what matters most, create actionable plans for moving forward. It's about taking everything in your circle of control and turning it into a strategic advantage. The third program is communication excellence, because so much of what is in our circle of control comes down to how we communicate. So this program helps teams master the art of influence with integrity, which is especially crucial when navigating stakeholder relationships and internal changes. And when you can't control the message coming from above, you can absolutely control how you deliver it. And our final program, or the final that I'm talking about now, our four most popular programs, the Talent Accelerator. This addresses one of the biggest concerns we hear from agency leaders, and it's how to develop junior talent, upcoming talent, quickly and effectively. So this program focuses on the skills that matter most in today's agency environment. And while you can't control the talent market or your hiring challenges, you can absolutely control how quickly and effectively you develop the people you have. So I just want to wrap this up by leaving you with this reminder. Every moment you've spent worrying about things you can't control is a moment not spending improving things you can. The agencies that thrive aren't the ones that avoid challenges. Right? We all need to face them. They're actually the ones that focus their energy wisely. They build resilient teams, strong systems, they have clear communication. They invest in their people and in their processes. So if you'd like to explore how we can help your agency build this kind of resilience and focus and apply the circle of control, the circle of concern, feel free to reach out to us or even reach out to me directly by email to rebecca@artemisapac.com. Thank you for spending some time with me. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and that it reminds you to bring your focus back to what you can control, and you can control your thoughts, your behaviors, your words, your actions. Thanks very much. See you soon in the next episode.
Work can be tough, but you don't have to figure it out alone. We're here to help for coaching, workshops, or just a smart second opinion. Let's talk. Contact hello@artemisapac.com. We're Artemis, and we get it.